We've got a mystery tonight for you guys, and with our ghost stories. And we want to say hi to someone different here. Brandi, do you want to introduce your guest?
Yes, it is my better half because he's definitely the better one out of the two of us. It is Dave.
Yeah, well,
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
how's it going?
Good. And Cara. Hi, Cara.
Hello.
We're so excited about these ghost stories that we have tonight, and we're excited. Um, Sandy couldn't be here. Sandra couldn't be here tonight, so
But
we
we
have
have to wish
here.
birthday wishes to her son, Johnny.
Oh, happy
Yes, that's
birthday,
why
Johnny.
it's
Happy
like
birthday, Johnny.
it's his 27th birthday, and I'm so happy for her.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're going to go ahead and throw this over to Kara because I hear we have kind of a lot of surprises tonight, even for us, and a lot of content to get to.
Yes, I am so looking forward tonight. Mine, of course, are not surprises, but Brandi, my little ingenious friend, Um, her and Dave have come up with some great things tonight. So we're going to kick it off with Brandy starting out with the surprise for Debbie and I and the audience. So, Brandy, you take it away. We are so excited. I can't wait.
So, I came across this one story and it got me thinking. We need to do something that's more interactive. So, I'm going to be telling you all a story tonight, and I want you to tell me, is it paranormal activity or is it caused by people?
Ooh.
And I'll let you think about it for the whole show. And at the end of the show, you can tell me what your guesses are, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story.
Oh, I love it.
So, I figured something new, some little twist. So let me know when you all are ready.
Oh, I'm ready, ready, ready.
Okay. So there is this couple who moved to a new home in a new state. I'm leaving a lot of this vague just for their privacy reasons. Okay. Because it is a true family. So I'm trying to protect their privacy. They have two sons, both of them about under the age of 10. So younger boys. And they have a cat and a dog. That is their family biography. Now, they move into this new home, and within about a week of them moving in, strange things start happening. The first strange occurrence is the wife hears, I'll call her Jane. So we got John and Jane Doe, okay? Jane hears a loud ruckus from their garage. So she goes out there to see what made this noise. And what she finds is all their boxes that had their stuff stored has been knocked over and not only spilled out all over the floor, but things have been arranged in weird piles, like almost as somebody sorting for a garage sale, kind of. Now, she knows that they haven't been robbed because all their expensive stuff is still there. Nobody's taken anything. It's just been knocked over and arranged in weird patterns. So she calls her husband, asks him if he knows it. Was he the one doing it? Does he knows what's going on? And he's like, nope, it wasn't me. Maybe it was the kids. So they ask the kids, and both kids deny it adamantly. They did not do it. Now, the husband, John, thinks the kids did it, and they're just denying it. The wife is still kind of like, I just don't feel right about this. Something's off. Another week goes by, nothing else weird occurs, and almost the whole family kind of moves on with their life after that point, except for Jane. She still just doesn't feel right. Something is off. Later that week, she's setting up in her bedroom, doing her makeup, getting ready for the day. She's sitting in front of her mirror, putting her eyeliner on. Nobody else is home. Everybody else has already left for the day. And the front door slams shut to the point where she almost pokes her eye out with her eyeliner pen because it scares her, it startles her. She's not expecting any noise. So she hollers out for her husband and her boys, thinking maybe they came back. Nobody answers. So she gets up and she's on the second floor. She works her way downstairs to the front door. It's unlocked and it's closed. Now, she's the type, she always locks the door. Adamant about always locking doors. So she, opens the door, makes sure the car's not there and that they hadn't came back. Nobody's out there. The car's not there. She shuts the door. She locks it. And she checks the whole house over. Nobody's there.
Ooh.
So when her husband comes home that night, she tells him about it. And he's like, it must have been a draft of wind that went through the house and the door just wasn't shut all the way. And she's like, no, I always shut the door. I always shut it. I always lock it. Without fail, I always do this. And they argue about it to the point where they are constantly arguing about how she feels about this house and he keeps blowing her off. It's just, it's nothing to worry about. Another week goes by and she's laying in bed. It's middle of the night and she starts hearing doors in her house. Not slamming, just enough that you can hear it opening and shutting. So she nudges her husband, wakes him up, says, I hear doors. And he's like, it's just your imagination. Blows her off again. So she gets up and thinks, I've got to make sure my house is safe for my kids. So she gets up and she starts going through her house, room by room by room. Nobody's there. So she goes upstairs to her kids' room to see if they had just been up. They're so asleep that when she wakes them, they're groggy. So she knows they couldn't have just been up. So she goes back and tells her husband again. And he's like, no, it's just in your head. You're just hearing things. You constantly are thinking about this door and you're just hearing it. As soon as he says that, their back sliding door opens and slams shut. So he freaks out, gets up, goes downstairs to check. Guess what? Nobody's there. He locks the back door again, goes back up, and still says it must have just been a draft. Still adamantly denies it. Nothing else is going on. Eventually, something goes on or happens that gets his attention. So he plays piano, and it was only him home. He goes downstairs to play his piano, and while he's playing it, he gets a sense of foreboding, like somebody is watching him. So he starts looking around himself, and he sees the shadow figure of a man standing outside his side window. But there's a curtain, so you can't see who it is. You can just see the outline of the person standing there. So he gets up to go look. And the moment he stands up to go look, this person takes off towards his backyard. So he rushes to his backyard where he can see who this person is. Nobody's there. And he kind of tries to play it off like, well, maybe it was just a neighbor that just heard my music and was getting, interested in it or something. Until later that night, they decide to go to the movies. And his wife wants to take her favorite cover because she gets cold at the theaters. Guess what nobody can find in that house? And it's always kept folded on the couch. Guess what they can't find? And they search top to bottom for that cover. Can't find it nowhere. So they go to the movies. They come home. Guess what's on that couch? Her favorite cover. Okay. At this point, everybody, the whole family, is getting paranoid about being in this house. All night long, they hear doors opening, shutting. Nobody's there. The dog will bark randomly throughout the night at things. Nobody's there. So they decide to take a week away from their house. They're going to go on a vacation. They're going to go spend a week with their family. And hopefully, whatever's going on will stop. When they get back from their vacation and he opens their garage door with his little push button on his car visor, the garage is just torn to shreds apart. Everything is just thrown around, torn apart, except for the oddly little piled up objects and patterns all over the floor again.
Oh, no.
The rest of the house is exactly the same, except for the kids' bedroom, which is pristine. Beds are made, their clothes are folded and put away, all their toys, which are normally scattered all over the place, are all put in their spots where they're supposed to be.
No.
I will leave it there until the end of the show. You guys tell me, is it paranormal or is it an actual person?
Okay.
Wow, to follow that. Well, Molly, I tell you, no, that's a little freaky for you know how I am with being raised in haunted houses. So
Yeah.
I can't wait till the end of the show to find out about this one. I'm going to talk about the Bangar Fort, which is in India, and actually the Indian government believes that this place is so haunted that you are like forbidden to be in there after dusk. I mean, it's pretty freaky, but it was built by the Kachawaha ruler of Amber. His name was Raja Bankwat Singh, and it was made. It was built for his son Madho Singh in 1573. Now, there's two legends that go along with the curse of this area. The first curse is uh, a, about a guru. The legend says Guru Balunath gave permission for the city to be built on the condition that it did not overshadow his retreat. Now, unfortunately, when they built it, it did, which made him very angry. And it is said that he cursed the city, and that no matter what was built or rebuilt, no like homes or things like that would withstand or the test of time. They would, they would crumble, which, as you can see, I mean, these are the ruins of the fort itself, but you don't see any homes hanging out there. And the interesting thing is that the one thing that is still, perfectly intact is the tomb of the Guru Balunath, and it remains among the ruins. The second legend, which is I find kind of maybe a little more interesting, is the legend that involves Princess Ratnavarti. Now, her beauty was said to just transcend kingdoms and borders. Her skin, her hair, she just incited instant love, to all of her suitors. And when she turned 18, she had marriage proposals coming from far and wide, all over the place. And one of the suitors who was enamored with her was a sorcerer, and his name was Singhin. Now, he proposed to her that he would give her his powers, if she would accept his marriage proposal. And he knew that she, he was of no interest. He was not an attractive man. And I kind of think she blew him off. So one day he decided that he was going to enchant some oil that her servant went to the market to buy. But the princess saw what he did and was furious, and she dumped the oil onto the ground, and then she morphed herself into a rock and rolled and crushed him. And as he lay dying, he cursed the city and said that the city would die. And indeed, the city did die. It had no more rebirths after this. And the princess was killed in a battle between Bangar and a neighboring town, Ajabar. And villagers believe that the fort is a sanctuary for ghosts, that they are like collected there or something. Noises are heard that cannot be explained. There's a woman who's been heard screaming and crying. They hear bangles breaking, the bangle bracelets and things. They hear bangles breaking, and they hear strange music coming from the fort. And one of the craziest things is they have a strong smell of a perfume, like an ancient perfume, not something that they can even recognize today as something that would be worn. And then there's ghostly lights, and there's sensations of being followed within the fort. Now, you're allowed to go in there during the day, but at night, the Indian government actually has it sealed up, because there is a belief that if you enter at night, you will never come out and never be seen again. And that is why at dusk, security, I don't know if they have an equivalent to our park rangers, They make sure they sweep that place before the sun starts going down, and they get everybody out before before night falls. And you can't even do a paranormal investigation there because going in there at night is strictly forbidden for any reason by anybody. They don't even have security guards on the inside at night. Those doors sealed, and that's it. So it's a little creepy, but it's amazing that a government actually sits there and recognizes this as one of the most haunted places in their own country, and they
Wow.
take steps to protect people. Isn't it wild?
So is that like one of those places where they send the guards or on bad with duty or got in trouble and that's their punishment? Or is it like the short straw gets it? Or
It could be the Indian Siberia. I'm not sure, but I know that they definitely do not. They do not put any. They don't take any chances. Let's put it that way. As far as they're concerned, you stay the heck out of there. That's it.
It's really spooky looking, though. And can you imagine at night? Now, you said this is India, so there's probably all kinds of animal noises at night and bird noises that make it really creepy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, some of the noises are actual, like a woman's actual screaming, but you wonder if, yeah, if there is, maybe some animals or something that can explain away some of the sounds. But breaking of bangle bracelets, the smell of a perfume that's not been worn in, centuries. Yeah, bird noises is another good one. Yeah.
Mhm.
But you just kind of wonder.
Well, they must have seen things for them to taken those steps.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
And
know, it must just be, you know, um, there are people and cultures that are very superstitious anyway, but there had to be stuff for them to say, we're off limits at night.
yeah, oh, definitely. Definitely. I think it's fair to say that there could be some things that can be explained, but then there's got to be, they may have, who knows, the government may have done their own paranormal study,
Oh yeah. Do
you
you
know.
guys want to go? You want to go at night? Hey,
Sure.
Dave,
Yeah,
you
we're
on board?
gonna jump that wall. Dave's gonna help us over that wall, and we're all gonna go cruising.
We're all going to get arrested. Is what we're going to get arrested
Yeah.
or
Well,
never seen
we'll,
again.
we'll wear a tether so that and we'll leave one of us outside so we can just pull everyone back out.
we'll have to leave Dave on the outside because if I ain't coming back, somebody's got to be here for the grandkids and stuff.
Okay, all right. Dave gets to stay outside. There you go. Um,
Dave said he'll keep a lookout, keep the security away.
now
Carrie wants
speaking
to
of
go with us.
Dave, yeah, huh?
I think Carrie wants to go with us. She'd go.
Yes, Carrie. Yes, Carrie is she's on the train. Speaking of Dave, he's got a great story about an asylum that he wants to talk about. And we are so privileged that he's going to tell us a story.
Well, it's kind of a place I'm semi-familiar with. I've driven by it a few times, and let me tell you, I mean, this was back in the late '90s, back when I was driving by it, and it had been closed for probably 4 or 5 years, and even before that, it was slowly starting to, you know, become run down and whatnot, simply because cutbacks and whatnot. But today we're going to get into the Harlem Valley State Hospital.
Ooh.
Looks spooky to me.
And they opened up in 1924, and it is a huge facility. I mean, it covers 900 acres. There's 80 buildings. A lot of the main ones are interconnected with tunnel systems. I mean, this place was like a village within a village. I mean, it was in Wingdale, New York, which is a hamlet of Dover. And then in the middle of that, you've got the Harlem Valley psychiatric center there, and it was pretty much self-contained. I mean, 500 patient or 5,000 patients capacity, uh, 5,000 on-site living facilities. I mean, they had a power plant, bowling alley, golf course, even a cemetery, and this place was pretty well known to be on the forefront of any new psychiatric treatment there was available at the time. And of course, looking at early to mid 20s all the way up until about probably the mid 60s. I mean, this place pioneered treatments like insulin shock therapy for things like OCD and schizophrenia and whatnot. And what they would do is they would dose you with a shot of insulin and literally put you in a coma.
Oh God.
And they that was their big thing when it first started out. And then, of course, you moved on to things like electroshock therapy. They were pretty much the test bed for that kind of treatment as well. And then, of course, everybody loves this one, the prefrontal lobotomy or the ice pick lobotomy. They did a lot of those too. Of course, there have been reports of people being locked in the tunnels, for treatment. It was helping to cure them,
Uh-huh.
and other such abuses and whatnot. And then about the mid 60s, things like Thorazine and other medicinal treatments came out and slowly phased out these old types of treatments. And as a result, funding for the facilities started to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually they just couldn't maintain. And over the years, certain sections of the facility would shut down and they just weren't taking care of them. And even at that point, people were starting to report strange things like disorientation and bruises on their arms that they didn't have when they showed up.
Mm.
And eventually, they had to close their doors in '94 because the funding just wasn't there. The facility was outdated. Treatments had become much more advanced. And so they shut their doors, and it's been pretty much abandoned ever since. I mean, as far as I know, there's a Christian university that's trying to buy up part of the facility. They're looking at 500 acres, but for the most part, it still sits pretty well abandoned. Now, the photo that's showing it's pretty well cleaned up. But back when I was going by it, I mean, there were trees growing out through the middle of some of these buildings, and I mean, they were rough. But I have some friends that actually went there because one of them was living in Dover at the time. They were in a band, and had this great idea to go out there and snap some photos. Great cover art for their album, and they all went out there and they were taking photos. They found some of the electroshock therapy chairs and kind of this, that, and the other thing. And the whole time they were there, they just didn't feel right. They just didn't feel right. And after they got done doing all the photo shoots, they were having a hard time trying to find their way back to their vehicles to get out of there. It was almost like they were drugged.
Oh wow.
And not to mention, there have been reports in that place of lights coming on and off, and elevators starting themselves, going up and down floors. Meanwhile, there hasn't been power connected to that building in probably a good 20 years.
Oh, that's freaky.
It also seems to attract a lot of dogs. The dogs will just kind of gather up in the yard and just start barking like there's something there. And I mean lots of dogs. So
Yeah, that's wild.
I think that always tells you something when animals get involved.
Right.
yeah.
They're barking. They
You know
see what
something?
we or hear what we don't.
If
So,
if the lights in the elevator running without power isn't enough,
Yeah.
the dog would be a clue.
Yeah.
And Carrie, to answer your question, most likely it's probably got historic significance, so they may not have torn it down if it's on a historic registry.
But
Uh,
it's
they
standing.
might. Pardon?
I said it's still standing.
Yeah, they may be. There may be someone who owns it who doesn't want to tear it down. Maybe wants to rehab it in some way, or it. Like I said, it might be a historical site that the state may own.
If it's the state owns it, it's more than likely they're wanting to make money off of it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Want to sell it or do something with it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have, I have to say, there's a, speaking of buildings being torn down, part of our next story with involves one of the most, if not the most famous actor of the silent film era, Rudolph Valentino. There he is. Now, he was not, Arabian, or he was not Middle Eastern. He actually was a Italian, and his first name was actually Rudolfo, but that was kind of shortened, and then Valentino was part of his name that was shortened too. But he was from Italy, born in 1895, and unfortunately, he led kind of a tragic life. Um, when he came here to the United States, he was basically doing the dance hall dime a dance kind of thing. And his exotic good looks actually made him money, but he tried waiting tables to also make ends meet and got fired because he just didn't do the job. Um, so he kind of lived on the streets for quite a while in New York before he made the decision to make his way to California. But part of that was he had become involved with a woman who was just a friend, and and he testified at her divorce hearing, and unfortunately, her husband was a mega millionaire, and he made his life hell and destroyed his reputation in New York. So he went to California with the hopes of breaking into the movies, and he did. And he, even though he was rumored to be very difficult to work with because he was, kind of a perfectionist and he wanted things done a certain way, um, he found his niche, and he married his first wife, Jean Acker, which that was not the right thing to do. It was what they call a lavender marriage. She was a lesbian, and she had two female lovers that were also actresses, and they never consummated their marriage or anything. And she kind of went. She closed and locked him out on their wedding night. They never consummated anything. So eventually he found another wife who was just as bad for different reasons, and he actually got arrested for bigamy because the papers weren't filed, or they were filed, but he didn't wait a full year to get remarried, which was the law in California at the time. So he marries Rambova, who is this set, she's a costume designer, and she starts doing all the costumes on his show, on his movies. And she ruins his relationship with several people, including June Mathis, who was one of his best friends. So fast forward to 1926. Uh, Rudolph is not feeling very well, and he's got sharp pains, and he ends up being taken to the hospital, where they discovered that his appendix had ruptured, and so had several ulcers. And they operated on him, and they assured him that he was going to get better. However, as you know, in 1926, you did not have antibiotics like you do today. Yeah, had he had those, he would not have gone septic, and he would not have died. But unfortunately, he did. But that's where things get a little strange. After he had divorced his wife, he had reconciled with June Mathis. And when he died, of course, she was in shock, because they had been such close friends. And she found out that his family didn't have a place to bury him yet because they were erecting a monument and a crypt for him. And so she kind of loaned out one of hers. Now, the ironic thing is a year later, she passed away suddenly of a heart attack. So her husband decided to leave him there and bury his wife there. And then he sold off the third crypt in the mausoleum to Rudolph Valentino's family, and he went back to Italy. So she and Rudolph are eternally next to each other in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. This is where things get a little there. Yes, there is. Here's one of the things that was strange too. That is his wake, and over 100,000 people went there to see him. Many of them women, and many of them after this committed suicide or attempted suicide to join him in the afterlife. It was like a cult. They called themselves the Valentinos, and they literally jumped from buildings, took pills, hung themselves, anything they could do to join him in the afterlife. But this is where his story gets a little strange. Pola Negre was a woman that he had been dating when he got sick and passed away. Now, she was this crazy actress, kind of on a loopy side, and she made his funeral a spectacle. She fainted several times. She wailed at his corpse. She made sure that she was held up by people being carried from his funeral to go to the cemetery. He had given her something, though. Rudolph Valentino had gone into a shop, and the owner had this ring. I think it was called the Destiny ring. And this owner wanted to get rid of this ring. And of course, Valentino, being a Roman Catholic, kind of didn't believe in curses, and he bought the ring. What typical? Oh, the pictures, is that of a funeral like that? Or I'm not sure what you mean by typical, Carrie. If you give me a little more, info, I'll answer. But the ring, when he put it on, it was shortly after that he got sick and died. So the ring was left to Pola Negre. Well, she escaped a near fatal traffic collision. No, it's not actually. There's been several actors from back then, and even vaudeville stars from even further back, where they had they not as big as Valentino. I mean, 100,000 people back in 1926 attending his funeral was very was over the top. They did not. I mean, people waited for days to see his corpse and to cry and to pray over it, like you see in this picture. But there have been several people who have been so infatuated with a star or a politician or someone famous, a writer, that they have wanted to join them in the afterlife. It's very, very crazy. But let's get back to the ring for a minute. Pola Negre wanted to get rid of this ring. So she ended up giving this ring to a friend of hers, whose name was Colombo. Don't know if he was part of the Colombo crime family or anything, but when she gave this ring to him, he actually was shot and killed in a shooting accident. So then the ring passed to his friend, Joe Casino. He put the ring on, or he put the ring under glass, I'm sorry, but then he decided to wear it first. And he had a fatal traffic accident where he was hit by a truck a week after he put the ring on. And It was locked away in a safe in Casino's brother's house after this, and then it was stolen by a guy by the name of James Willis, and then he was actually shot and killed by the police with the ring inside his pocket. So there's been all these strange things. And to this day, that ring is still locked in a safe in Hollywood. It's in a vault, it's put away. Um, but that leads us into the hauntings. Rudolph Valentino, they said everyone thought he was a ladies' man, which he wasn't, but that he got around in life. Well, he gets around in death. He's actually haunting so many places throughout Hollywood, places that weren't even built when he died. But of course, the land was there, and he had been to these different, when there were different things there. But one of the most famous places that he is known to haunt is Paramount Studios. Now, Paramount Studios was in a totally different location when he passed away. They moved to where the back lot is actually abutted to the cemetery where Rudolph Valentino is. So Rudolph Valentino has been seen on the sets in Paramount, in the different studios and the different things, roaming around. It's almost as if he's watching to see how movies are made today. Like keeping an eye on the profession that he had such a passion for. But he had a home which was raised in 2006, but he had a home that was in the Benedict Canyon area, and it was called Falcon's Lair, and he has been seen all over that land. Even after his home was demolished and something was rebuilt, he has been seen there. Not only him, but his dog, his beautiful dog, and his horse. The stables, which are still there, is his horse is heard there. His horse is there walking around, and he is seen with his horse and his dog. There's actually a picture of the three of them together, and it's amazing that he's actually been seen with this beautiful horse. And he had another house that was a beach house that he has seen roaming the beach in front of. He has been at the Knickerbocker. He has been at, there's a apartment building that they call the Valentino Place Apartments now, kind of like named after him. It used to be a speakeasy when he was alive, and he would attend that speakeasy, to drink because prohibition. But he has been seen there a lot, climbing into bed with women who live in these apartments. One woman practically had a heart attack. She thought she was being accosted by somebody.
I'd be like, excuse me? I don't think so.
Yeah. He literally climbed under the covers with her. The covers were raised like there was someone in bed with her, and she jumped up and there was no one there. But she saw the image of Valentino.
I would literally be like, I don't care how cute you was back in your day and age. You too cold now. Go somewhere else.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to. There are restaurants that he has been seen roaming around in, and he's been seen, riding his horse and things. But the Knickerbocker Hotel, it's funny. Houdini held seances and stuff there for years. I don't know if anyone remembers our lovely Houdini things. And the Knickerbocker's now apartments, but he likes to go hang out in there too. And the Knickerbocker wasn't even open until 3 years after he died. But he kind of liked to hang out in the different apartments and the lobby there. So it's wild that his dog is also seen roaming around the cemetery, looking for him. And the Hollywood Hotel, that's another one. He's been seen hanging out in room 264, and he'll appear next to your bed and give you a kiss. And I don't think he decides whether it's a female or a male he's kissing, because there were rumors about him, but he just vanishes after he gives you a kiss. Or he's done things like ride a horse to the location of a restaurant on Hollywood Boulevard. Literally ride a horse there, and then hang out by the bathroom, the ladies' bathroom, and just smiling in a pair of tan pants and a white shirt. I mean, these are actual confirmed sightings that people have felt, and I'm wondering if it's because he died so young and so suddenly that his see, I like that picture. If I mean, it's wild. I mean, what do you guys think about this whole concept that he can be haunting places that he never visited the actual businesses in life because they weren't there, but he had visited places that were there before, and now his spirit is kind of lingering.
I think it's amazing that he has gotten around. And yes, the spirits can go wherever they want. And he must have found that way where, hey, I can project myself wherever I want to go. I think a lot of ghosts will stay where they're familiar with. Maybe they haven't gotten that realization that they could go travel. But you can't say that this doesn't happen when you've got so many people experiencing it as witnesses.
Okay, the thing it made me think of, and I have no clue why, but I had an image of Harry Potter and the portraits where people would move from one picture to another, and they could go anywhere they wanted to in their picture frames.
And I do have another interesting fact. I don't know, this is kind of creepy, but his home, Falcon Lair, was bought in the 50s by Doris Duke, the heiress. And she actually lived there until she was murdered in 1993. But in 1969, her stables backed up onto, or were right next door to, 10050 Cielo Drive, which was where Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski rented their home from Terry Melcher. And she became really close with Sharon Tate. And Sharon Tate's murder, disturbed her, and terrified her. But in 1993, and that's why she always had a companion. She always had someone, she didn't want to live alone. She always had a companion and things. And she had this longtime companion who, believe it or not, a few days before Halloween in 1993, murdered her in her home, which was the Falcon's Lair. And it's kind of weird that all these like curses and things just in that area are just so prevalent. Him with the ring, and then him having that house and the house being haunted, and her buying the house, and then horrible things happening next door, and then 24 years later the same thing happens to her.
Crazy.
You know what? I saw that a long time ago. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I saw that a long time ago. It's been quite a while. But I think I remember the basic gist of it. It's if I'm not mistaken, that is that was 2018, 2019 or something. But that's I think it's what's his name? Quentin Tarantino, I think, did that. Yeah, I think it was Quentin Tarantino.
Brad Pitt in it?
Oh gosh, who was in it? I'm trying to think. Crap. No, I think it was what's his name from Titanic. Well, maybe
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, but well, Brad Pitt might have been in it too. But I'm just thinking of imagining in my head Leonardo DiCaprio.
I've never seen the movie, so I don't know.
I haven't either. That Hollywood has so many stories,
It,
murder,
it,
suicide.
it, if I remember correctly, the movie was really panned because it dealt with a fictionalized version of Sharon Tate's murder, and it. I know Bruce Lee's. I think. Oh yeah, that's right. Bruce Lee's family was pissed off because of the way they portrayed him in the movie. But it had this thing like she was having these. It was a fictionalized that she was having these dreams or something about being murdered, these visions and stuff, and then um, I don't know. They kind of changed everything around, but it's um, I think I don't want to spoil the ending, but it was not received well by Sharon Tate's family nor many of the others who were in the movie. But I don't remember. I can't remember the whole thing. I probably have to watch it again now that you brought it up. I'm gonna have to watch it again. But yeah, it was a big fictionalized thing about if she had you know had visions of her murder and stuff. Um, which if I would love to talk about some of the hauntings involving Sharon Tate, but I just don't think with her, to open that wound, especially with, her one of her sisters still being alive and stuff. Um,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't covered it, just out of respect to her and her family.
yeah, and it involves so many more people like Terry Melcher and what he went through in the aftermath, and which is Doris Day's son, and things, and it's still, even though it's 53 years ago this month, it's still very fresh in the lives of so many people. She has nieces and nephews and things, and I don't think I wouldn't want to talk about the hauntings or the ghosts or anything associated with the Tate LaBianca murders, just for that reason, because it was so horrific.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just saying horrific. It was really terrible. And when things like that happen, and I'm from California, and I live in the area of all this stuff. There was just so many stories that span all the way from San Francisco down to San Diego, and we all kind of take it to heart when it's in our state or it was close in our town or city when these things happen. We've had horrible stories down in San Diego, and but Hollywood is truly haunted,
Yeah,
and people buy people's old estates, right? They're not all torn down, and so they live with these ghosts.
yeah, and that's why one of the reasons that I will not cover the hauntings involving John Wayne Gacy. That's from
Yeah,
my hometown. My dad had interaction with him. He offered my oldest brother a job shortly before he was captured.
that's
You
crazy.
know,
Yeah.
there, but it hits so close to home. One of his victims was someone who was a cousin of one of my other brother's friends.
Mm.
So there's certain things and that I think that are just too new. You
Well,
know,
they're so horrible, the most
yeah,
horrible things that people can do, and sometimes we just don't want to go there. And it's all, you know, it's better when it's grandfathered in a bit, but the ones that you're talking about, Sharon Tate and all that, it's just so sad. And so I feel like Carrie had it right when she said respect. And
yeah,
later on when people don't remember, who's who and whatever, yeah. And as we talk about Valentino and the amazing that he's seen everywhere, I mean,
Yeah,
that really can't be, a coincidence. It can't be.
no, and I think he just had a strong. I think he was just like bound. Maybe he refused to cross over because he was taken so abruptly. You know, and there are several Hollywood silent film actors and actresses who had tragic things, that happened that they were taken so young,
Right.
that it's God, I'm trying to remember her name now. It's going to drive me nuts. She was a blonde vixen, and she died very young, just like Valentino, of a stomach issue. And I'm trying to.
Poltergeist.
No, no, no. This was way back in. Uh, oh God.
Just
Uh,
after the turn of the century type of
it
time.
was. She was. Jean Harlow. That's it. Jean
Oh,
Harlow, one of the most gorgeous actresses in Hollywood. She died at the age of 26.
wow.
So it's wild that and oh God, I wonder if because she was a Christian Scientist, she didn't get treatment right away. But um, she ended up with kidney failure, and the her love of her life, they hadn't had a chance to get married yet, was William Powell, famous actor.
Oh, wow.
But her mother ruined all of her marriages. Her mother was awful. Um, her mom is believed to have not wanted her to go to the hospital and put it off until she was so far gone that nothing could save her. But her ghost has been seen around Hollywood quite a bit too, and seen on movie sets and things. Um, but it's there's a lot to it. Like I said, I there are certain things I wouldn't cover. Sharon Tate, I probably wouldn't cover it more so because of her baby.
Yeah, that was the worst part.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I love covering the older actors and stuff and giving them a voice 100 years later.
Hmm.
They deserve it. They deserve to be immortalized and respected by future generations. If you haven't seen his movies, please, you can get them. You can stream them on different services. You might have to rent or buy them, but look up his films. Some of his films just withstand the test of time. And it is time. By the way, speaking of time, Brandy, it is time for you to take a poll and see what people think of your story, whether it was supernatural or man made.
Well, Dave is excluded from this poll because he already knows the answer. So he can't voice an opinion. He has to be silent on this. So, what do you all think? Was it paranormal or not?
I'm going to say that everything that you talked about to me could be explained. And I've seen things float and move and everything, but sliding doors are heavy. So I have to see that ghost before I know that's what it is. So I'm going to say that it was not paranormal. But I know you're supposed to come up with a paranormal story, but there's not enough evidence for me.
And as someone who has hung out and lived in many, many haunted houses growing up, um, I would say something human was going on there.
Living in the attic or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something gaslighting, I think, was going on. Maybe a few of those things could be supernatural to me, but I would have to see it with my own eyes or feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaning to the side that someone was gaslighting somebody.
Well, I give you both kudos. You're both correct.
Somebody living in the house.
So, this is what happened when they returned from their vacation. As soon as they saw their garage, the wife called 911 The husband grabbed a sledgehammer and went to the front door to go see the house. When he tried to open his front door, he was met by an eye peeking out the crack saying, "This is not your house," and slamming the door in his face. Adrenaline rush, he yanks the door open, grabs the guy, throws him on the front yard, and keeps him there until the cops show up and arrest him. Upon entering the house, it was as I said it was. However, he found medicine and other vials of medical objects. They don't really specify what. And on their bed was a towel laid out with knives and their own personal laptop with a Word document where this guy had been watching them for months. To the
Oh,
point where he could literally tell them what their conversations were in bed.
Ew.
oh my God.
You can look up these details because it is actually it's still in trial, so I can't say any more than alleged things.
Mhm.
But it is called the Omnivore Trial.
Mm.
You can look it up. It will give you the list of what this guy did and what his plans were for that family.
Oh Lord.
Oh God.
Horror story. Oh my
oh,
God.
wow. That is,
We're going to be a nice little twist to today's show. Something new.
Yes.
I love it. I love the fact or fiction, supernatural or man-made. I love it.
Yes. But what happened that probably stopped them from ending up having a haunted house.
Well,
by
they
their-
moved from that house after that happened, and they now live in an undisclosed location, which is why I'm not giving their names or to respect. I mean, if you really wanted to look it up, you can look up who these people are by looking up that trial. But for me, I'd rather respect their privacy and not just blabber it out all over streams and stuff. If you really want to look it up, it's on the internet. You can look it up and do your search. But this way, at least still gives them some of their privacy.
Oh, that's
Did you say omnivore trial?
Omnivore Trials.
wow. That's crazy. And we all have to dig a little deeper. I mean, anything happening, I'd be tearing the house apart looking for the person or cameras or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
It
Go
just
ahead.
the stuff was too much energy for most ghosts to do. And believe me, you guys, I have ghosts that come in my house. They move things and all of that, but the energy to do all of that would be insane. I'd be looking at a human.
Yeah, there's actually a horror film. There's actually a horror film about a widowed father who moves into a big house with his children, and the girls swear that their mother is haunting the house, and it turns out that some creepy dude has been living in the walls in their house and spying on them. This young guy, it was a young guy who was obsessed with one of the daughters.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
I mean, that would make a great horror story if you think about it.
it was a horror movie, is what I'm saying, and this
Yeah.
would be definitely.
But yeah, this guy, I mean, what he had planned out for this family was pretty horrific. If they had not taken that week vacation, God only knows what might have happened to them.
Right.
So it was a good thing they decided to clear out of the house for a week to see if everything would settle down.
I would hope that their guides and angels got them to go on vacation. But yeah, this is really creepy as can be. And, I think this was a little bit easy for us. If you do it again, get one where they're not throwing too many things around. But scary as anything when you think you're being haunted, versus, it's really a person. That's terrible. He'll get his. He's not going to get out.
Yeah, and like I said, I have to say alleged because it's still going on court process,
Right.
but without a doubt he did it. It's just you have to say alleged because innocent until proven guilty.
Gee.
I bet you he tries to say that he's not guilty by reason of insanity or something.
Well, he is currently in a mental hospital deciding whether or not he is mentally capable of
dang,
standing trial.
dang it.
Well, keep him locked up in there with, then, don't let him out. And when he is deemed fit for trial, then try him right away, because this is some next level
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, he'd been in the house the whole time that they had lived there.
Hi,
That's
Diana.
how you make a haunted house.
Well,
Yeah.
if I do that, then you'll know it's haunted. I
Yeah.
gotta mix it up here, Debbie.
Oh, and I do
That was cool, Brandi. Thank you.
I do want to say at the we're at the very end of our time, but hopefully we have our own YouTube channel starting that is specifically going to be for our ghost stories and talking about our books and dropping little Easter eggs about those things.
Mhm.
And we're hoping that you guys will follow and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, and we will let you know next week when it is up and running.
So excited. And also, our books are for sale. Cara, your book is, you want to tell everybody really fast about your book?
My book is about a woman who is trapped in a cabin in the mountains during a horrible storm, and it is called The Shadows of Satan: Terror in the Mountains. And it is it's got supernatural, it's got twists and turns, and you just don't know what is reality, what is imagined, and what is in the supernatural.
So please, you can purchase that at Amazon or go in and order it at Barnes and Noble or your local bookstore. And if you purchase it at Amazon, please go and review it. And
Yes.
then we are working actively on book 3 in the series of the past lives of Deborah O'Hara. Book 1 and 2 are out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble now. Matter of fact, because due to COVID, we haven't been able to do in-person signings, but watch out, Barnes and Noble. We're going to be there. We're
Yes. Yes.
going to do it. So do go see those books. They're fabulous. We are currently writing the blockbuster copy. Book 3 is going to be so exciting and so great, and lots of good things coming ahead for the series. So we're not going to say any more, though.
We can give them one nugget.
Okay, go ahead. You
Our,
find it.
our books are always in the present day. They're always based in Chicago and a surrounding fictional suburb. But book 3 has the added element of you being able to go back. I'm not going to say how far back, but back into the young days of Chicago. And it's going to be so exciting to bring that wonderful part of Chicago history to life. But that's all we're going to say.
And do want to thank Brandi so much. It would be so difficult, Brandi, without you. You help us so much, and we appreciate you to the moon and back.
Oh,
We do.
absolutely.
Got to thank Dave for all the cups of coffee he brings me while I'm doing that.
Thank
We
you.
have to
I
thank
thought
Dave
it was
for being on the show
sweet.
tonight.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Yeah, no
Great
problem.
story. Come on again. And I think Sandra is going to try to be on next time.
Yeah, she'll be on next week.
And
Now, I
we'll
will say in 2 weeks, the show is going to have Debbie, Brandi, Dave, and Sandy, and I may make an appearance in the last half, but my niece is coming down and she's got something special planned.
oh, how
That's in 2
wonderful.
weeks. That's in 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, I think that Brandi will get a special guest. I'm going to open my purse and find somebody really good and pull them out. And we'll have somebody on. And that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, you guys, it's just a little bit past our time, so we have to go. Anything last to say, you guys?
Oh, just thank you,
Have a
everybody.
wonderful night.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Brandi, for that. Thank you, Dave. Bye, Cara.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye, everybody.